domestic violence and sexual abuse, and it's 2023. Tina Turner's Firewall, the undisputed champion that gave us the blueprint, and she survived it all with God's grace and mercy. My name is Dr. Andrea Sears. Let's talk, family and friends. The ultimate princess and crown queen of rock and roll. The indefatigable, the stalwart, the unsurpassable, the resolute, the lion-hearted queen of all queens. She conquered that beast. Yes, indeed. I said it. And yes, she earned every drop of it with blood, sweat, and many tears. Now match that. You just can't. You just can't. It was not happenstance. This was not entitlement. This was not inherited. She accomplished the impossible in the eyes of adversity. Alan Perilous. Fools ignore complexity. Pragmatists suffer it. Some can avoid it. Geniuses remove it. She was the daughter of a sharecropper whose musical career catapulted her into stardom. With the king of rhythm, Ike Turner, who was a songwriter, composer, record regisseur, and American producer. Tina Turner, born American, Swiss singer, queen of rock and roll, lead singer, endured broken bones, third-degree burns, sexual abuse, combined with domestic violence that became the never-ending dark cloud eventually. She mustered the courage to run for the hills at the cost of her life, hanging in the wind. However, after her divorce, she lived in poverty, but struck gold with David Bowie. He changed the game in 1983 forever. That's called the meeting of two heavyweights. Recognize this, Steve Jobs reminds us. Great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team. Go ahead, David Bowie, with your bad self. That was the most powerful move that will live on, a spectacular gesticulation from both angles. Making the underdog your equal, that makes benevolence and a magnanimous soul. And that's David Bowie in full effect. She rose to the occasion in all her majesty and did not disappoint. He became the metamorphosis that was needed at that moment to set her feet on higher ground that lasted a lifetime. Soren Kierkegaard, for without risk, there is no fate. The greater the risk, the greater the fate. Theodore Roosevelt, for better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who never enjoy, never suffer much, because they live in a great twilight that knows not victory or defeat. How can we prepare to survive domestic violence and sexual abuse and make it out unscathed? Take a lesson from the queen herself. Achilles, to learn, we must suffer at times, and even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget, falls drop upon the great, and in our despair, against our will, comes wisdom to us by the grace of God. Our choices affect others. As a domestic violence and sexually abused survivor, taking notes is indispensable. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, we must learn to, in regard people less in light of what they do or omit to do, and more in the light of what they suffer. We need to stand firm. It always seems unreachable. To win your battle, especially in the darkest hours before dawn. Abusers don't understand the consequences of a protected and sustained violence that continues to be egregious, fatal, and indisputably detrimental to the welfare and the well-being of the targeted abused, consequently engendering repercussions that affect the innocent individuals in our society and propagate a ferocious catalytic effect on the social, economic, and political religious milieu of individuals impacted by the so-called perpetrator. Therefore, in terms of mental illness, ill health, psychological dysfunction, in people affected by abuse, it is urgent that the world leaders address it now by navigating clandestine strategies to help unravel the persecuted, the damaged, the tortured from their plight, without the suspicion of the culprit or potential adversary. The one abused must take heed good advice from the experts in abuse by possibly informing the law and Justice Department so that necessary, more aggressive strategies can be deployed to arrest the problem at its source. Wherever possible, the best outcomes are preventative. In the unfortunate event where domestic violence and sexual abuse becomes fastidiously embedded and consolidated, the trajectory of freedom, autonomy, and harmony can become an impossible feat. The crown queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner herself, realized that. To live is to suffer, is to find some meaning in suffering. Frederick Natish. But she conquered. Never say never. Going above and beyond is what this fight requires to live another day. Fight, my friend. For now, let no one put a bounty on your life. It's yours to live to the fullest every single day. Written by Dr. Andrea Sayers. All talks will be available on YouTube by checking Dr. Andrea Sayers. Many thanks.